Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next edition of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host today. I am delighted to welcome back to the show Julia Muir, who is CEO of Gaia Innovation and also the founder of the UK Automotive 30% Club. Julia, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me back, Chris. I obviously didn't do too badly last time.
No, you did very well. I was just saying literally just off air that your episode and all the episodes we've done that are connected to education and promoting the next generation sit in the top percentile of our downloads. So there is clearly an appetite within our business community, but hopefully with some students listening to find out what's going on. So we've asked you to come back on the show, as we have for many other people, during our sort of hashtag COVID catch-up, which is designed to really have a catch-up with old friends, people that we've had on the show, plus new ones that we've met over the last few months. Really to find out what's going on your end, ear to the ground, what's going on within the schools, what's going on within the sort of automotive and the 30% club specifically that you're running, and also really just to shout about the good stuff that's going on in your world. So for those that haven't heard of Julia Muir before and the entities that you are sort of running and the CEO and founder of, just introduce what they all are. So the 30% Club, Gaia Innovation, what are they and what good are you doing?
Okay, so Gaia Innovation is the entity that powers the Automotive 30% Club. So my team that work for me and that manage all the activities for the 30% Club are employed by Gaia Innovation. So and we're a social enterprise that's not for profit. We don't. Everything that we do is we do it for what we hope is for the good of society. The Automotive 30% Club has, I think, now 42 members from across the UK who are based in the automotive sector. So they're either manufacturers, retailers or suppliers. And they include some of the large manufacturers like Volkswagen Group, Toyota, Kia, Mazda, and also some of the largest retailers such as Lancaster. That's what they trade as, but we know them as Jardine Motor Group, Marshall Motor Group, Bristol Street Motors, Inchcape, and some of the big tech automotive suppliers like CDK Global and Auto Trader. So our aim of the Automotive 30% Club is to get a better gender balance in business, specifically in the automotive sector. This is because all the evidence points to the fact that if you have a gender balanced workforce, your business is more successful. It's a very simple premise in that you bring the complementary perspectives of men and women together and you end up with a greater output as a result of that.
Yeah.
You also, if you can have diverse men and women, you have an even better success. So some research done by McKinsey showed that if you have over 30% of your leadership team that are female, your profits will improve by over 25%. But if you have also diversity at the top level, your profits improve by 36% versus your peers. So there's an absolute no-brainer in terms of a business to do it. It's not as easy as saying, right, we're going to do it then. You actually have to have a plan. And so this is what we do as the 30% Club. We have a strategy that we work to try to achieve 30% by 2030. And we, as part of that, a lot of what we do is reaching out to new talent pools to encourage more women and people from ethnic minorities to join the automotive sector. And so what I think many of your listeners and viewers now, I suppose this is, are more aware of, or how they're more familiar with us, is through the Inspiration for Innovation programme. And this is our outreach programme that links with schools and not only in the Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire area, which is where we've done a lot of our work, but we also do lots of activities nationwide as well. One of the big changes that's taken place through lockdown is that I've decided to put all of our Gaia Innovation activities under the banner of the Automotive 30% Club, and to make a very strong message that for youngsters who are inspiring to join innovative and advanced technology sectors, that it's important to have this inclusive mindset and to be very supportive of being anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-homophobic behaviour. And our members and our volunteers will all be people who want to be seen as employers of choice, who have this inclusive culture. So we've shifted slightly the direction of the Inspiration for Innovation project, to bring it more in line with everything else that the 30% Club does. But I think you'll probably agree that this is so important, and it's absolutely critically important to Generation Z that companies have these values, and those are the companies they want to work for. That I think it will be hopefully hugely successful this year in terms of promoting businesses not only in the Silverstone area but also our automotive partners across the UK.
No, I entirely agree. I think, the objective for every business owner, right, is how to attract and retain the best people of all ages. But certainly if you're building a business for the future, you've got to be looking at Generation Z and the generations to come after that. And so being fully inclusive and also accepting that, due to technology and social media, you have to have that mindset. Otherwise, you're going to be a dinosaur, and the business isn't going to not only survive but certainly not thrive. So 100% agree. And so with the Inspiration for Innovation project, clearly we're in the middle of COVID. It's lockdown. We can't go into schools because I've been a volunteer as well. So how's that evolved, or how is it evolving to enable both the students, the teachers, and also the volunteers to sort of integrate and do what they do?
Well, it became very evident to me right at the beginning of lockdown, or actually before that, because the information about the seriousness of the pandemic was coming through the automotive channels in February, that this was really going to shut us all down. And it was quite a shock to be hearing that, but not seeing everyone else carrying on as usual. It became very evident to me that we couldn't carry on as we were doing, and we should not try to. We should not even plan to put things off and shift them forward into the calendar, because it was just never going to happen. And it was, from the information we were getting in automotive, this is a 2-year thing, from Christmas basically. Things probably won't be back to as they were for at least 2 years, and maybe never now, because we've all adapted and changed and behaviour has changed. So like many other businesses, I decided, right, we have to change the model of what we're doing. And the overused phrase of pivot to where the new opportunity is was exactly what I decided to do. So talking to some of our supporters and sponsors, I said, I think we have to decide that we will only do virtual and digital events for the foreseeable future. And we may never go back to physical events if it actually works. So it's kind of, well, let's put our money where our mouth is and be innovative, and try and develop something that has not been done before. So the new programme, or the new Inspiration for Innovation network of volunteers, will be asked to engage in discussions like this with schools that will be focused probably more on practical solutions, because it's quite hard to do a kind of inspirational speech in this kind of environment. So things like preparing for digital interviews, which they may not have had any help with in the past, and yet we know that many companies have moved to that process. Also, things like how do you show body language positively in a digital world, and what kind of preparation do you need to do? And also, what we are hoping that some of our volunteers will be prepared to do is to talk them through how do you cope with your own personal skills, with resilience, this underlying noise of anxiety, which is flowing through many schools, many families. This sense of helplessness, really, because of the pandemic. How do you talk to a teenager who's already going through emotional ups and downs about managing themselves and looking for ways to see the best in things, or to make the best of the situation that we have? I think that kind of motivational chat, in a quite kind of friendly, informal way, will be hugely helpful for these youngsters. Also just really weird things like handling bereavement, because we know that there's a high degree of that, and people are losing their grandparents. And if we have any experts, obviously I won't want anybody that isn't an expert, but to talk to youngsters about it. But if they are, it's those kind of things that schools are really looking for to help their youngsters. And also the 3 flagship events that we usually do for Inspiration for Innovation will go totally digital, which is going to be a massive challenge for us, because how do you take a whole day and fill it with exciting engagements virtually for a year group of year 9s who are in a horrendous year in terms of the stresses from outside. But what we're looking at is the concept of creating a kind of show, the Inspiration for Innovation show, that we will have lots of guest presenters, guest appearances, discussions, interactions, so that the youngsters can ask questions and take part from their side as well. So we are, if anyone out there is an expert in that field and they'd like to help us come up with some fantastic ways of doing this, then we're open to all ideas.
Well, so our production team who have done our client stories and are involved in production of many things, a company called Momentum. I can definitely introduce them if you haven't met them. They're part of the STC. It's a question of whether or not they can support, and they've got the resources to do it, but why not? And in relation to the sort of coaching element, i.e. bereavement through to anxiety, through to the change curve, we have an in-house sort of life/executive coach who works with our clients and households who go through those same emotions. Angela, I know she's very, 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 very busy, clearly, because of what's going on, but I will definitely reach out to Angela to see if it's something she has capacity to help with, because she would be a phenomenal person to literally just provide an element of calmness and reassurance that, look, everything they're feeling is normal. I've had coaching off Angela. Everything that we're going through is normal. We've just got to just steer the ship in the right direction. Everything will be okay. So let me put my feelers out, and I'll see what they can do. And I'm looking forward to the show. That sounds exciting. Even to watch it, but to be part of it, whatever. It's as I said, you've got to try and make these things exciting and engaging. And your previous events have been, from the speed networking through to live talks and presentations. Phenomenal. And some of the feedback has been outstanding from the teachers and also the parents from memory. Their sort of feedback to the teachers about the outcome from or the response from their child when they got home. Over what they've just heard or been presented. So onwards and upwards. Talking about sort of production, you guys launched a podcast, I think at the end of last year or the beginning of this year. So how's that going? Because I love podcasts, clearly. So how's your podcast going?
Well, we're still in the early days of it because we're obviously everything that we do, we have to get sponsorships for. So we're in discussions with companies about sponsoring the various podcasts. The one that you're referring to, I think, really is our Inspiring Super Network that Nicola is the manager of. And the purpose of the Inspiring Super Network podcast is to engage with women in the sector and allies, their allies, to look at issues that are of interest to them, to discuss whether there's shared common ground in terms of challenges or solutions. And it's just really about properly building relationships within this network that we've established. We are going to do similar things for the Inspiration for Innovation volunteers. We're looking for sponsors that will enable us to really turn the network into a proper network and not a kind of a list of volunteers that engage with us but don't necessarily engage a lot with each other. Yeah. And we really want to build close relationships between our automotive volunteers and our Silverstone volunteers, because I'm sure there are business synergies and opportunities there that sometimes crop up just from having appeared on a webinar together and things. So anything that we can do that can kind of oil the wheels of turning this group of volunteers into a properly mobilized, functioning network, then that all really helps. So. And the podcast for the Inspiration for Innovation will, it could touch on similar things about diversity and inclusion and why we are moving more into that space and how important it is. But it could also talk about how, simple tactical things like, well, how do you employ young people? What are the benefits of apprenticeships? Is anybody doing the Kickstart scheme that is actually hugely valuable to employers? It's actually a really good package if you can take the time and effort to employ a young person that's currently on universal credit. So it's things like that, that we will be discussing current topics that could be of use to our volunteers, as well as kind of celebrating our volunteers and talking about what they're doing and delivering in Inspiration for Innovation.
Sounds fantastic, and I look forward to listening to that. And I can certainly vouch. I mean, you're episode 85 today on the Inside Silverstone podcast, and I know for a fact that amongst the many guests that we've had, there has been natural crossover commercially, business-wise, because they've listened to somebody explain their product or service or an area they're looking to get into, and then they've engaged with them. So onwards and upwards with yours, and I'm very much looking forward to listening to that. So that'll be fantastic. You're obviously involved in the automotive space, which, clearly with the dreaded B word coming in a few months. Now, I don't want to spend too long on this because I think we could just gas bag for too long on it. But general opinion on or a feeling within the sector on both, what's going on with Europe, but also potentially relationships with, Japan, for example, and other places where there are key commercial relationships. What's sort of general ear to the ground feeling at the moment?
I suppose the general feeling is kind of arms up, heads up in the air, thinking, what on earth is going on? The businesses in the automotive sector are hugely professional global operations that are used to dealing with crises and changes in government policies and changes in tariffs and things like that. But it's the unpredictability and the last minute nature of this that is frustrating the industry hugely. You say, it's either just tell us which way it's going. Obviously, the automotive sector didn't want Brexit. There is no positive angle to it at all for automotive. I personally don't think there's any positive aspect to it, full stop. But anyway, it's an ideological position that's been taken by the voters in this country, and we are where we are with it. But the point in running a business in a huge world of turmoil and uncertainty, means that the businesses have just got to take their own destiny in their own hands and start to make decisions. And I'm, 100% sure that the businesses in automotive have plan A, plan B, plan C, depending on each scenario. They will have game planned the outcomes and be ready to roll. Now, in some respects, there are some decisions that are so critical, they will have had to have already been made on the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is a no deal Brexit. So things like investing further production in this country will have already been decided to not do.
Yeah.
Because it was too risky to have left the decision as a possibility. So the damage has been done now for a number of years, and it will flow through in the next couple of years, the size of that. But the real killer for the automotive sector is the country of origin rules that would mean that many of the products being manufactured in the UK couldn't be classed as British origin because they haven't got enough components that are sourced in the UK, and therefore can't really be sold in the way that they should be. They're not classified correctly. So there's a huge there would be therefore a huge task if you want to keep building in the UK to create a supply chain that would be all British. And we know that that took the Japanese many, many years to do that. Or the simpler decision is, well, you just start building your minis in Germany instead, where the supply chain is. So anyway, we wait to see. We have fingers crossed. There is very low confidence in this current government's decision-making skills, shall we say, irrespective of politics. And so, yeah, it's a difficult time. But what I'm very pleased to see is that most of the members of the club are not, if you like, downgrading their importance on the workforce, gender balance, inclusion, because they know that the only way out of this is to have a very effective, productive workforce. So therefore, they are still focusing on having talented people in the business, even though a lot of them are announcing redundancies, which is another key factor.
Lots going on, but optimism is the only realism, is what I live off, and just got to remain optimistic and know that good people run good businesses, and they're going to make hopefully smart decisions around and pivoting around what the government are doing and otherwise. Yeah,
I completely agree. I think I have every confidence that business will sort itself out. It just needs to get some crumb of information as to which way to run. Yeah. At the moment, everyone's kind of frozen, waiting to.
Yeah, it's all a holding pattern, isn't it? Yeah, there's need certainty. All markets need certainty. So, right. Julia, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've got two final questions before I let you get on, and I can see that the sun is starting to come through your window on the right hand side. So, yeah, beautiful day right here in Northamptonshire. It is grey and miserable, but either way, two final questions. It's 2021, or maybe even 2022. Life is moving beyond COVID. We've had our vaccinations, if we're allowed them. Some of us have had them, who knows? But we are now getting back to some sort of normality, whatever that is. What are you personally looking forward to doing the most that you can't necessarily do at the moment?
Well, I didn't mention that during lockdown I wrote a book.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, so I'm having that published on March the 9th, 2021. So I would actually, if we do get the chance to go out and speak to people and meet again, I would be looking forward to actually being able to share the content of the book, which is about building a winning gender balanced business. It's called Change the Game. And it really is about, in this current environment, it's so important to not go back to as we were. It's about changing the game we've been playing up to now and moving forward. So I would really love the opportunity to go out and talk to people face to face about that philosophy and that principle.
Fantastic. When the book's published, you need to let me know so we can publish and promote that for you as well. How long has it taken to write that?
Well, I had a 3-month window, and I think I probably wrote it in the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
Because lockdown for me was very much, the sun is shining, it's 3 o'clock, I'll just put down what I'm doing and go and have a glass of rosé. So,
yeah.
But I always work a bit like that, a bit of a crammer, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I just always just picture books and novels, people working on them for their life, right? They work on them for a decade to then get them out. We've got a number of clients that, it's their pipe dream and they're working on them and like, look, let's create some more time. But COVID clearly has created some pockets where you can knock out a fantastic book in the space of 3 weeks. So onwards and upwards. Look forward to reading that. Last question. This is a bit of a silly question, but it's a question that's taken me decades of learning and traveling the world to speak to gurus in Nepal through to other fancy countries to come up with a sort of Parkinson's level question, because it's that silly that I'm going to ask. I'm going to give it a little drum roll. What is the king, or indeed the queen, of crisps?
Well, mine are definitely salt and vinegar McCoys. I have to have the, the jumbo pack of 6.
Yeah.
But you've picked on probably my major weakness is crisps. And whenever I have a diet, I say, right, no crisps.
No crisps.
And then when I need to treat myself, it's get the crisps.
Yeah.
So I went through a lot of crisps.
Yeah, that's a meaty. That's like a decent crisp, isn't it? The ridge, the flavour.
I do like all the rubbish crisps though. What's it's.
Well, we've had a lot of engineers on the last 20 episodes. 3 or 4 at least say cheesy Watsits.
Frazzles.
Oh, we haven't had a Frazzles yet. We've had a number of vegetable crisps. We've had a number of vegetable type crisps, which sound horrendous, but I'm sure taste lovely. And a variety of
posh crisps.
Yeah, I'm a steak McCoy man myself. You've got to go meaty, but the salt and vinegars are very good. That's a good, strong choice. I like that. Julia, thank you. I'm going to close the show. Thank you so much for coming on, giving us further insight to what's going on with, obviously Gaia Innovation, UK Automotive 30% Club, and the Inspiration for Innovation sort of project. Really, really looking forward to seeing what this show event's going to turn out to be like, and I'll certainly introduce you to a couple of people that may be able to support the production of that. Everybody listening and watching this, we're going to have a number of links in the show notes for everything that we've literally spoken about, including if you want to be a volunteer and get involved in inspiring the next generation, and listening to the podcast, which is currently out, and as Julia said, is interviewing inspirational females within the automotive space, and really doing sort of Q&A about their life and things that matter to them. So Julia, again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.